do have a presentation. We're going to receive a presentation regarding the city's coordination with Life Moves to address the homeless issues in San Bruno, and I'd like to have Chief Ed Barberini start it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Like most cities in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Bruno continually faces challenges associated with homelessness. While homelessness is not primarily a law enforcement issue, police officers, due to the nature of their work, are regularly required to interact with our transient population. There are many complex and evolving factors that contribute to homelessness, including substance abuse and mental health challenges. The police department recognizes that this is not an issue that can be addressed via any type of enforcement action. We are not able to simply arrest our way out of this problem. In fact, homelessness may be an issue that is not able to be solved completely in the short term. Realizing our own limitation, the police department has looked for assistance in addressing this important issue. We were fortunate to become involved with an organization called Life Moves, formerly known as the Envision Network. Life Moves supports a homeless outreach worker team that assists local entities in reaching out to transient populations and coordinating housing services. Funded mostly via Measure A funds, this program is designed to partner homeless outreach workers with city staff. In our case, a homeless outreach worker is partnered with the Police Department Support Services Officer, Sherry Campbell. And Sherry and her counterpart are here tonight and are available to address any questions should the council have those. These individuals take direction and report back to a liaison group that includes 2 members of our city council, members of the Chamber of Commerce and the business community, and other city department heads. It's my pleasure now to introduce Mark Sabin, a senior director with Life Moves, to tell you more about this program and their work in San Bruno.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being invited to talk a little bit about our homeless outreach team. Again, my name is Mark Sabin, and I'm with Life Moves, formerly Envision Shelter Network. And Life Moves, for those of you who aren't familiar, we have 18 shelters that stretch from Daly City down into the South Bay. That's if you're to divide Life Moves in half, we have 2 components. One is the shelter-based services, where we provide comprehensive services to individuals and families in the shelters. It's not a traditional type of shelter program. It's one where we bring folks in, whether they're single adults or families, and we work with them in a comprehensive fashion and really address the issues, the financial issues, substance abuse issues, educational issues, mental health issues, to really work with folks over a 4-month or 5-month period to work towards what is Life Moves' ultimate goal for both the folks in their shelters and outreach, which I'll get to in a minute, is to return people to sustainable housing. That is, if you were to dial our entire mission statement down to that one sentence, it's about returning people to sustainable housing. The component that I'm here to talk about today is our homeless outreach team. And I have a couple members here with us today, Joaquin and Nilde, who are responsible for this region for outreach. And what our outreach team does, it's not really traditional outreach. Sometimes you can think outreach is just going out and maybe providing folks with something nourishing to eat or a pair of socks. We do that, but because this outreach team is part of Life Moves, it is part of our mission, which is to return people to sustainable housing. So the outreach team's ultimate goal is to work with folks at a variety of levels to develop housing plans with them. And while we're on the streets with folks, we will work with folks at any level. And it takes a significant amount of time for some folks to develop a relationship with individuals. We've had people that we've been working with. The team has been in effect for about 8 years now. And we've had folks on the street that we've been working with for about 8 years. And then we finally get them to work on their housing plan, get a housing voucher, and actually get people housed. We've had, just in the past 4 months, we've housed approximately 40 people directly from the streets into permanent supportive housing with the voucher-based systems that are available to folks in San Mateo County. And that takes a lot of effort. So what the outreach team does, it develops relationships with folks and works with them to get the IDs, healthcare issues, mental health issues, whatever it is, to develop the relationship to get the folks to go through that process to work on getting a housing voucher to get them housed. And it takes, like I said, a substantial amount of time. What we're able to do is we have access to, and I have to be careful how I say this, there's a limited number of shelter beds in San Mateo County for folks that are on the street. But we have the relationships with Safe Harbor and our own shelter system that will work with folks, and as they're ready, we'll do our best to get them into a shelter bed and to work. It's easier to work with them once they get in a shelter bed to start working on the process to get them into the housing voucher system. And we also work with the folks not just on the streets in the downtown areas throughout the county. We also reach out into what is known as encampments, and the encampments are locations where homeless folks actually set up communities. And sometimes it can be small, sometimes it's a couple of tents or a couple of structures, and sometimes they can get quite large. In San Mateo County, these encampments don't get that big, which is very fortunate. I know in Santa Clara County, some of you may have heard of a place called the Jungle, which became really something to contend with. And so we actually go into the encampments and work with folks and, again, develop the relationships and meet people in the communities. And it's all about developing rapport with the folks on the street. Because without that relationship, we really can't get anywhere. One of the elements that we found that's really successful is we have a partnership with the San Mateo Medical Center, and they have a team called the Street Medicine Team. And we partner with them, the outreach team and a couple other folks, that we go out into different areas across San Mateo County, and we're actually bringing health care to the streets to folks. And what this does, and this is one of the reasons why we've had such a great deal of success lately with getting folks housed, is we're starting to take care of one of the primary issues for folks that are on the street, and all of us, is our health care. And once we are able to address the multitude of issues that folks have, what health issues they have on the street, that develops that trust. And this has really kind of been a catalyst to having a great deal of success. Our approach is we develop the relationships with the folks, and on a monthly basis, we have 6 different meetings on a monthly basis. They're called multidisciplinary team meetings. And what these meetings are is each of my outreach workers, and we have a team of 6, leads these meetings on a monthly basis, and it's around a table with a group of community providers, law enforcement, folks from behavioral health and recovery services, the core agencies, a variety of community-based organizations where we will have a list of folks that we're actively working on. And the goal of these meetings is we'll go through whoever's on that list that we're working with intensively and identify the issues to work collaboratively, to troubleshoot, to keep that person moving forward. And on any given time, one person on the list might be, hey, have we seen them so we can get them their ID, because that's a big deal to get the housing vouchers, health care, or whatever the issue is. And this is a process where we're actively, to use kind of a comparison, we're kicking the ball forward. So we have folks, and we're always working on them. So that's how we're a little bit different than some outreach you may have some experience with, have heard about, where we're not just out on the street and just talking to them. We're actually doing something. So if you kind of split our population in two, we have the folks that are on these lists where we're doing the intensive case management, and we also have folks that we're just working with that really aren't that interested in doing anything, but we never give up. That's the power of what we do. We never give up on folks. We've had folks that get away from us in different ways, but we keep going back, and the team that we have, like I said, we have 6 folks, are some of the hardest working folks, and it's a very difficult job to do out there in the field, especially when the weather turns this way. But we're out there every single day developing relationships. I can't stress enough how important our relationship is with the police departments. That's what makes this work. And I'll close on this. The relationship with law enforcement works because the HOT team and law enforcement are in constant communication. So when law enforcement's out there on the street and working with individuals who may be a little bit troublesome, law enforcement is aware what we're doing because we let them know what we're doing. So we really can't the folks on the street really can't run any circles around us because we're in cahoots, so to speak. And it's really effective. And sometimes it's a kind of a carrot and stick model. So this would not work without the partnership with the police departments that we're developing great relationships here in San Bruno, in San Mateo, in Redwood City, South San Francisco, Redwood City. We have some amazing partnerships with law enforcement. So I could go on forever about the outreach team and how proud we are of the work that we do, but I really want to take this time and let you ask any questions that you might have. If there's anything specific that you want to know about the team, I brought the team because I know very little, so they can actually answer the questions. But I really appreciate this opportunity. It means a lot to us.
Good, thank you. Any questions for Mark? Rico? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like the team to just give us an example of what one of your success stories with a homeless individual.
One of our success stories is that
Come right to the mic, please.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, thank you.
Hi, my name is Joaquin. I'm part of the outreach team, and my region is Region 4. It includes South San Francisco and San Bruno, along with the airport and Burlingame. So a success story was we had a homeless individual. She was living at the Caltrain station over here in San Bruno. When I came on board, she was already in a housing plan. I took over the case, and I continued with the housing plan. And previously, before I got on board, it was a hassle to get off the street and get her to go to her medical appointments and stay with the system and the process. And so I was able to connect with her on a daily basis and have her open up to me, and we developed a relationship, and she's now housed. She has her own apartment in East Palo Alto, and ever since, she's been off the streets.
That's great, that's good. I know we have some issues in San Bruno, maybe not as large as some other cities, but we're working closely with your group to try to get those things corrected. The first thing I asked is, well, okay, you get people off the street, then what happens to them? And that's where you come in. So that's a real important thing, to get people back into society and living in a good environment and proper health care. It's really, really important. So I really appreciate all your efforts. I'm on the subcommittee, and so I've had to work with you closely, and it's been a pleasure. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.